He stood there, uneasy and exposed, and in that moment, it hit me. No one had ever truly helped him through something this personal before. But should I? His eyes didn't meet mine. Instead, he stared at the ground like he wished it would swallow him whole. Shoulders slumped, breath shallow. He didn't look 19 just then. He looked like a scared, unsure kid, lost and searching for something solid. Everything inside me twisted. I should have stepped back, told him to go talk to your dad, or laughed it off like it meant nothing. But I didn't. I stayed frozen, heart racing, pretending this wasn't happening. Pretending this wasn't the exact moment everything quietly shifted. You know that feeling when something feels innocent, but it's too close, too charged? That was this. Like a hug held too long, a glance that lingers, a silence that hums with things no one says. I didn't see it coming. Not like that. It wasn't scandalous. It wasn't dramatic. It was messy, unfiltered, achingly human. That's what people never understand. They want a villain, someone to blame. But real life is a maze, made of longing, guilt, and that aching need to be seen, even if only once. He didn't plan this. Neither did I. But still, there we were. Ever been in a moment so heavy it crushes your chest, where one step forward changes everything forever? That was this. It began small, a question, a hesitation, a look. What started as simple concern became something irreversible. Now everything is different. My marriage, my house, even the woman I see in the mirror. The worst part? I still don't know if what I did was brave or unforgivable. If you came here looking for a clear answer, black or white, you won't find it. But if you've ever felt lonely, unsure, or quietly shattered, then stay. This story isn't just about what happened. It's about why. And maybe you'll see what I couldn't. Before we dive into this emotional story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel where stories of betrayal, heartbreak, and buried truths unfold in ways you won't believe. Hit the bell icon, like the video. It helps more than you know. Let's begin. I was 38 when I remarried. It wasn't a whirlwind romance. No sparks flying, no fire. Just steady, safe, and simple. After surviving a brutal divorce and years of raising my daughter solo, I thought that's what I needed. Mark was all structure and silence. Calm, predictable, secure. But I should have noticed how rarely he smiled, how often he looked past me like I was just another lamp in the corner. We married in spring. By fall, I was eating dinner alone. He started working late. At first, I believed him. Calls, deadlines, meetings. I nodded, loyal, the supportive wife. But the truth, he didn't stay late because he had to. He just didn't want to come home. Our house was beautiful. Hardwood floors, vaulted ceilings, sunlight spilling into every room. But it echoed with emptiness. I'd light candles just to pretend someone else was there. Some nights I'd set 3 plates. One for me, one for Mark, one for Jason. But most nights, I ate by myself. Jason was 19, Mark's son from his first marriage. His mother had walked out when he was 4, just vanished. Mark never talked about it. Jason didn't talk much either, not rude, just withdrawn, always behind a hoodie, always wearing headphones. Not rebellious, just sad, like something weighed him down. I tried. His favorite snacks, small talk about school, sitting nearby while the TV played. He'd nod, offer a quiet smile sometimes, but the wall stayed up, thick, solid. Still, cracks appeared, small ones. When he carried groceries and told me a story about football practice. When I mentioned a show and he said, "Yeah, I've seen that one." Moments so small you could miss them. but I didn't. I clung to them. Strangely, Jason noticed me more than Mark did. Mark barely touched me anymore. He'd come home, mumble, "Hi," pour a drink, and disappear into his office. Hours passed. I'd knock, offer food. "Not hungry," or "Already ate," he'd say, closing the door again. Some nights, lying beside him without even brushing arms, I'd wonder if he'd notice if I just vanished. The loneliness was slow, creeping in like a quiet flood that drowns you before you even know you're wet. I stayed up late, folding clothes, listening to the low hum of the fridge. Jason would walk by sometimes, give a nod if our eyes met, sometimes not. I didn't resent him. I wasn't his mother, barely even a step anything, just the woman his dad married. Still, I noticed the changes. How he skipped breakfast. How he waited until I left the room before entering. How he flinched when I called his name. How long he stared at the ground when we spoke. At first, I blamed teenage awkwardness. But something else was going on. One night, I caught him staring, not in a creepy way, more like he was trying to figure me out, to solve a puzzle. I smiled. He looked away quickly, and there it was, the shift, barely visible, like a hairline crack in a bridge before it gives. I brushed it off. Too many other things to think about. Or so I told myself. Looking back, that's the moment I should have listened to my gut. That tiny whisper inside that knew something had started quiet and slow, and that whatever it was, it wouldn't stay innocent for long. It started with laundry. Just a regular Tuesday. Nothing special. The sun barely crept through the blinds. The house dead silent. Just the low hum of the washing machine. And my own thoughts echoing around me. I was folding shirts, Mark's stiff button-downs, my soft cotton tees, Jason's gym clothes. His soccer jersey was still damp, with sweat crumpled like he'd peeled it off in a hurry. I shook it out, smoothed it, flat reaching for the next piece, when I saw them, his boxer shorts. I froze. They were inside out bunched, but there was something I wasn't ready for. A shape, a detail that made my breath catch. My hands trembled as I tried to convince myself it was nothing. Just fabric, just laundry. But my eyes lingered. And in that split second, something uninvited slipped into my mind. I jerked my gaze away, folded them quickly, shoved them into the basket like they might burn me. But it was too late. The image had settled sticky and heavy, and no matter how much, I blinked or scolded myself. It stayed later that day. Jason limped through the front door. My stomach clenched. He tried to hide it, tried to act casual, but I caught the stiff way he moved, the way his face tightened with every step he headed toward the stairs. "Are you okay?" I called out. He paused, barely looked back. "Yeah, just sore." Without thinking, I followed him a few steps. "Did you get hurt at practice?" He stopped halfway up, back still to me. His shoulders rose slow and heavy. Then, without turning around, he said, "It's just hard to deal with sometimes." My heart skipped. "What is?" I asked, a beat of silence. Then he muttered, "Just stuff," and disappeared into his room. His door clicked shut, leaving me staring after him. Stuff. It lingered in the air. Heavy and unspoken, went back downstairs and sat on the edge of the couch, but I couldn't focus. My mind kept circling that one moment over and over like it had teeth. Was it an injury? Something deeper, or was I just imagining everything? Again, I told myself to let it go, that I was being ridiculous, but I couldn't. My chest was tight, my heart thudding too loudly for the quiet house. That night he made dinner. Nobody ate. Mark didn't come home. Jason stayed hidden away. I sat at the dinner table alone, staring at 3 untouched plates, feeling the emptiness crawl over my skin. Later wrapped in sheets that felt too wide and too cold. I couldn't sleep. I just lay there staring at the ceiling, my mind refusing to let Jason's face go. The limp, the hesitation, the sadness stitched into the way he moved. And more than anything, I couldn't stop, wondering what was he really struggling with and why. Was my heart beating so fast because of it? I should have ignored. It should have folded those clothes closed. The laundry room door and erased that flicker from my mind. But I didn't. Something inside me, some quiet aching need to be needed, kept digging, kept watching, kept caring in ways I wasn't supposed to. I kept telling myself it was motherly concern, that it was my job to notice, to ask to help. But the truth, it wasn't just about him. It was about me too, because nobody else was paying attention to Jason, and nobody was paying attention to me either. I used to be touched, not just physically, but emotionally. Mark used to trace his hand down my back when I washed dishes, used to whisper in my ear, at night laugh at my dumb jokes. I used to be seen. Now I wasn't even sure I existed to him anymore. I could walk into a room and barely stir the air, like a ghost slipping by unnoticed. So when Jason asked me one night out of nowhere, "What makes a man normal?" I froze. He was sitting at the kitchen table, fiddling with his phone, not looking at me. Then he said, casual, but careful, "Can I ask you something weird?" I smiled, heart thudding. "Sure," I said. He asked, "How do guys know if something's wrong with them physically?" I blinked, heat flooded my cheeks, but I kept my voice even. "What do you mean?" He shrugged, eyes low. "Like when you're not like everyone else you know?" I didn't know how to answer. I smiled gently, forcing a calm. I didn't feel. Everybody's different. I told him there's no real normal. He looked at me, just for a second, and nodded. Okay, but the moment hung between us thick and heavy. This wasn't a boy asking about puberty. This was a young man burdened by the body he lived in, asking if he was broken, and I had no idea what to do with. That I should have brushed it off, sent him to his father. But Mark would have shrugged it off, or worse, made him feel ashamed, and I couldn't let him feel small. Not when I knew exactly what that felt like. The questions came slowly after that. Not all. At once little. Ones do. Girls care about size. Does being too different scare people away? What if you feel uncomfortable in your own body? Each question was a whisper, a plea, and reaching into the dark, and each time I reached back without hesitation. Even when I knew I shouldn't, the nights got longer. The house got quieter. Mark came home later, left earlier, barely even glancing at me. I lay in bed wondering when exactly I became a ghost, and then one night, I heard a knock at my bedroom door. Soft, hesitant 3, gentle taps. My heart stopped. I knew it wasn't Mark, and deep down I knew that once I opened that door, things might never go back to the way they were. I opened it anyway. He stood there in the dim glow of the hallway light, hands tucked into the sleeves of his hoodie, eyes lowered like he couldn't bear to meet mine. I didn't say a word. I just stepped aside. He entered slowly, uncertain-like. He hadn't planned this, but had been pulled here by something stronger than him. Something he couldn't fight. I sat at the edge of the bed. He stayed. Standing. The silence stretched between was the kind that hums in your ears, the kind that makes your own heartbeat feel deafening. Then he spoke, voice barely above a whisper. "They laugh at me." I looked up, confused. "Who?" He swallowed hard. "The guys in the locker room at practice." I wanted to ask why, but I waited. He looked so raw, so stripped down. "They think there's something wrong with me, like I'm a freak." He glanced at me once, then looked away. His words twisted, something inside me. I kept my voice soft. "What are you talking about?" His cheeks flushed. His hands twisted tighter in the sleeves of his hoodie. "I didn't ask to be like this." He said, "I didn't try to be different. It's not something I can control." I nodded, slowly giving him space. Different how. He hesitated, then whispered, You know how some guys are just built different. I said nothing. He looked like he wanted to vanish. I hate it, he said, voice cracking. It's uncomfortable, it hurts sometimes, I can't even wear certain pants without people noticing. I hate the attention. I stood and walked over, sitting beside him. Not too close. Just enough to show him I wasn't afraid. You're not a freak, I said, forcing my voice to sound stronger than I felt. He didn't believe me. I could see it plain as day in the way his defenses barely held together. They whisper about me, laugh, even the coach. He can't even look at me. His voice broke again. It's like I'm not even allowed to exist this way. I reached out, rested my hand lightly on his shoulder. Jason, I said, listen to me. There's nothing wrong with you. He finally met my eyes, and God, the paint here was almost too much to bear. You're normal, I said. And then after a breath, you're more than normal. You're perfect. Just the way you are. I regretted the word the moment it left my mouth, perfect, but it was too late. It hung there thick and warm in the small space between us. And he smiled. Not a big grin, not a laugh. Something softer, sadder, like he'd been starving for someone to say it. We didn't talk much after that. We just sat there, his shoulder warm against mine. I didn't pull away that night. Something between us shifted, and after that, everything began to change. He started coming downstairs, more hovering in the kitchen, while I cooked, asking quiet questions about what I was watching, what I was reading. He even offered to help sometimes, chopping vegetables, drying dishes, standing close. Like it was the most natural thing in the world. We began watching shows together, in the evenings at first, with a pillow between us, and then over time. Nadi laughed, more smiled more, and so did I. It felt strange how easy it was, how natural, like some small hidden pocket of warmth had opened up in my cold, quiet life. A secret world that only we existed in, and I knew how dangerous that feeling was, but I let it grow. Anyway, one night, he made me tea without asking, just placed it in front of me, like it was normal. Another night, we watched an old movie I'd seen a dozen times, but it felt new somehow with him. Sitting there, slowly leaning closer as the minutes passed, I began to notice how he looked at me. Not glances, looks deep, steady, lingering like I mattered. And God helped me. I didn't hate it. I told myself it was innocent, that we were just two lonely people finding comfort in each other's company. But deep down, I knew it wasn't the whole truth. There was an energy in the room when we were alone, thick, quiet, charged. One evening after a long, heavy silence, he stood up. Can I show you something? He asked. I nodded. He reached into the pocket of his hoodie and pulled out a folded piece of paper. At first I thought it might be a poem or a drawing. It wasn't. He held it out with trembling hands. I took it slowly, unfolded it, and froze. It was a photo of him, of that part of him. Nothing explicit, but suggestive enough to make my breath catch. I looked up, stunned. Jason, why would you? He cut me off, voice shaking. Because I don't know if I'm okay, and you're the only one who's ever made me feel like I am. I should have looked away, but I didn't. The rain that night was relentless, a steady drumming downpour against the windows, like it was trying to say something. We couldn't hear. Thunder rolled low and deep, and every few minutes the sky cracked open in flashes of night. I sat curled up on the couch, arms around my knees, watching shadows flicker on the wall. The house felt even quieter than usual. Mark was away, off at some conference. He barely mentioned Jason was upstairs. Or so. I thought. Then the power went out. The world snapped to black. No fridge humming, no TV glow, only the rain and the sudden aching stillness. I lit a few candles and sat back down, the soft flames making the room feel smaller, more intimate. A few minutes later, I heard footsteps. Jason appeared in the doorway, his face lit by candlelight, pale and unreadable. "Power's out," he said quietly, already knowing the answer. I nodded yeah. He hesitated, then came and sat down beside me, closer than usual. His hoodie was damp, the scent of rain clinging to him. Neither of us spoke for a while. Then he shivered. "Cold?" I asked. He nodded, almost sheepishly. I grabbed the blanket draped over this couch and pulled it around both of us. Automatic, instinctive, or maybe not, his body leaned into mine just slightly. The candles flickered, thunder rumbled again. He whispered, "Can I ask you something?" My voice came softer than I intended. "Of course." He stared at the flame eyes, distant. "What if I'm never enough for someone? What if people always look at me and walk away?" I didn't know how to answer, not in a way that would make it hurt. Lest he turned to look at me and his eyes weren't filled with lust, they were filled with fear, desperation, this aching need to be told he wasn't broken. "I just want to understand," he said. "I want to know if there's something wrong with me, or if the world just made me feel that way." I swallowed hard, my heart pounding under the blanket, my hands cold as ice. "There's nothing wrong with you," I whispered. "You're not too much. You're not too different. You're just human." He nodded slowly, but I could tell he didn't fully believe me. Then he said something that made the air itself seem to freeze. "Would you help me understand, not physically, just emotionally? Just tell me what it's supposed to feel like, what it's supposed to be?" My hands trembled. My mind screamed, "No." But my heart whispered, "He needs you." And that whisper was louder. A turn toward him, didn't speak, didn't move. His hand brushed mine under the blanket, barely a touch, soft and unsure. But that touch burned through me. Our eyes met, and in them I saw every unspoken question. I let the silence answer. I didn't pull away. I didn't stop him, and he didn't stop me. A tear welled up in my eye before I even knew why. Guilt, maybe relief, maybe both. But that night something broke. Or maybe something finally gave in. The next morning, the house felt different. Not quieter, heavier, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. I got up early, hoping the stillness might somehow clear my head. Maybe making coffee, wiping down the counters, doing anything normal would make me feel normal again. But my hands shook as I rinsed at a mug, and there was an ache in my chest. I couldn't name Jason. Didn't come downstairs. I waited. I made breakfast, toast eggs, letting the smell fill the house. But the chair across from me stayed empty when he finally emerged. Hours later, he walked right past me, without a word. Didn't look up, didn't pause, just kept moving. I stood there, clutching a dish towel, staring at his back, willing him to turn around to give me something, anything but. He didn't. Minutes later, my phone rang. "Mark." I couldn't answer. I stared at the screen, until it went dark again. His name flashing like a slap across my face. I couldn't hear his voice. Not today. Not after last night. I tried to act normal. I folded the blanket on the couch. I opened windows. I played soft music, but every move felt wrong. Too loud. Too fast. Too exposed. Jason stayed in his room. He didn't come down for lunch, didn't text, didn't ask about dinner that night. His bedroom door was locked. I stood outside it, hand resting lightly on the knob as if that could summon back the silence we used to share, the easy, wordless comfort. But now even the quiet felt dangerous. I didn't knock. I just stood there until I heard movement behind the door, footsteps, then nothing. He was pulling away from me, and the hurt of it cut deeper than I expected. The next day, he left the house early without saying where he was. Came home late, avoided eye contact, ate nothing. It went on like that. For days, and I started to wonder, had I ruined the only bond I had left? Had I broken something inside him? Maybe he regretted it. Maybe he didn't, and that scared him even more. I replayed that night 100 times in my mind. I didn't stop him. He didn't. Stop me. But maybe we both should have the guilt. Didn't scream it, whispered a constant dull ache beneath everything I did. I caught glimpses of him sometimes passing through the kitchen, the living room, but he never looked up. He was slipping away from me, and I didn't know how to reach him one evening. I walked past his room and saw the door cracked open. He sat at this desk hunched over writing, furiously, his notebook open in front of him, pen moving like he was racing against something that might devour him whole. Then he stopped, tucked the pen in too. The spine closed the notebook with a gentleness that broke my heart, as if it held something precious, and then he hid it. Not placed it aside, hid it under a loose floorboard near his bed. I watched through the crack, frozen heart hammering. He never saw me. I backed away quietly, pulse racing. What was in that notebook? Was it about me? About us? Was he blaming me? Protecting me? Neither. I didn't sleep that night. I kept seeing the way he folded that notebook, the way his shoulders curled inward like he was shielding himself from the world, or from the truth he couldn't say aloud. I wanted to. I wanted to ask, but I didn't, because part of me was terrified of the answer I told myself I was, helping him, that he needed comfort, acceptance, safety, things no one else had ever offered him. But deep down, maybe I wasn't trying to help him at all. Maybe I was trying to fill something hollow inside myself. The silence in the house, the way Mark stopped seeing me. The empty bed, the meals made for 3, eaten alone. The woman in the mirror fading into background noise. I was starving for connection. And when Jason reached out, I didn't just take his hand. I clung to it. Now the house feels alien to me, like everything shifted an inch to the left, and I'm the only one who notices. Like I'm living inside a memory that doesn't know where it belongs. I keep thinking, should I tell Mark? Would that be some twisted form of honesty, or just another cruel betrayal? Sometimes I imagine packing a bag and leaving, vanishing, starting over somewhere. I don't have to carry this secret like a stone dragging me under, but I don't move because I'm not sure. I deserve a second chance, forgiveness. Feels like it belongs to someone else. Someone better. Someone who made a mistake without seeing it coming. But I saw it coming. I saw it in the way Jason looked at me, in the way I started looking back in every unspoken moment we let linger too long. I blurred the line between mother and woman. And now, I can't unblur it. I don't even know who I am anymore. Protector, villain, lonely wife, woman. Who crossed a line? She swore she never would. Maybe I'm all of them. Maybe that's why it hurts so much. 3 nights ago, he left a note on my nightstand. No envelope, just a folded piece of paper. My name written in his careful, hesitant handwriting I saw at the moment. I walked in. I picked it up, holding it like it might catch fire in my hands. I haven't opened it, not yet, because part of me doesn't want to know what he said, and part of me already does. Have you ever done something you truly believed was right? In the moment, only to realize later, no matter how you turned it over in your mind, you couldn't justify it. Not to yourself. Not to anyone. That's where I'm sitting now. Not because I wanted to hurt anyone. Not because I planned it. But because I was human. Weak in a moment that felt like it mattered more than anything else in my life. Am I a terrible person or just a lonely soul aching to be seen? I don't know anymore. Maybe that's why I'm telling you this. Because I need to know what you think. Have you ever felt so empty that even the smallest bit of connection felt like salvation? Was I wrong for letting it go? That far, was he wrong for asking me to tell me in the comments? Be honest, be kind. Be whatever you need to be. But don't be silent, because Silence is what got me here in the first place, and if this story stirred something in you, if it made you think or feel or question anything in your own life, don't forget to like this video. It helps more than you know. Subscribe to Affair Unmasked for more real stories. Stories that challenge the heart, blur the lines and dive deep into the messy, painful human parts of love, trust, and betrayal. And hit the bell icon, because next time, the confession might be yours.